What is conversational commerce? Conversational commerce was a term that was initially coined by Uber's Chris Messina. You might know Uber as the taxi company that has absolutely exploded in the last decade, to the point that it has completely disrupted its industry and even gotten some analysts and economists pretty worried. So this guy knows what he's talking about, and social messaging apps are clearly a big part of his strategy. So what does all this mean? How can you employ it in your own strategies? Essentially, conversational commerce describes the rapidly rising trend of interacting between businesses and clients and customers through social apps and tools. This includes custom apps, SMS, and even telepresence like Skype and Zoom. Via these methods, consumers get to discuss matters with company representatives, to get customer support to ask pertinent questions about their products and services, and even make purchases. This completely changes the game in a profound way that may help to take your business to a completely different level. Why? Because you can now speak directly with a customer one-to-one. While this might seem like a lot of effort, it does several things for your relationship. One, it reassures your customers and clients that your business is run by real people and that they will be able to get a hold of you. This is huge because it means that if someone were to have a problem with a product or service, they would be able to get in touch and get a useful response and hopefully have the issue resolved. This in turn creates a huge amount of additional trust in your business, meaning that they are far more likely to click buy and take a risk with their hard-earned cash. 2, it creates a sense of gratitude and obligation. Most of us are fairly humble. While there are certainly some entitled individuals out there, and we will discuss how to deal with these types in future videos, most people actually don't expect to get an answer from a big organization or company. We tend to think of professional organizations as being somehow more important than us, and as such, we are shy about asking for advice. When a company actually takes the time to respond to a question, or even to send a marketing message in some cases, this can show that they care about the individual. Humbled, they might then feel somewhat obligated to buy, or at least feel far more inclined to, viewing your business as having earned them. 3, you can deal with issues and barriers to sale head on. A barrier to sale is anything that prevents a customer from wanting to do business with you. So, for example, if someone were unsure which product out of a selection was right for them, then they might choose not to buy. But by using chat, you can then answer the question for them, point them in the right direction, and hopefully fill them with lots of confidence that will help them to make a purchase. You can even get the process started. That is to say, you can help someone begin filling out a form or even talk them through the checkout process. The answer to that question is X. Product Y should be able to help you with that. Would you like me to add it to your cart? This can drastically increase your conversion rate while also serving the client and giving them a good experience. 4, you can get feedback and very useful information. A very strong example might be to ask, I see you were looking at product X but didn't buy. What could I do to change your mind? This can go as far as to convert an otherwise lost customer into a buyer. If not, it can give you valuable information that you can use to improve your products in future and increase your chances of making more sales next time. Generating goodwill. Another fantastic benefit of using conversational commerce is that it allows you to generate goodwill. One of the secrets to success in business is to over-deliver. That's to do more than you promise and more than you have to, and thereby to pleasantly surprise the customer. People love being surprised in this manner. To do this, you can try messaging someone to wish them happy birthday, to thank them for buying from you, or to check if they have access to everything that they need or thank them for signing up to the site. Make this a personal message, and they will likely be extremely touched that you took the time out. I still remember as a child once signing up to a newsletter for a game I liked, Abe's Odyssey, and then getting a card from the company on my birthday. This was huge for me as a young fan. While this might be impossible for some businesses to replicate owing to financial and time constraints, it's certainly not impossible to consider sending a Facebook message. And people will really appreciate that and remember your business as a result. How to reach out. Of course, the problem with conversational commerce is starting that conversation in a way that doesn't upset or insult the user. Drop-off rates are huge when companies start sending unsolicited messages, and this is something that companies should think hard about. The good news is that there are plenty of ways to safely start this kind of conversation. One is to wait for the individual to contact you through your Facebook page or your website. A chatbot on your website can also help you do this. Another is to get them to sign up and opt in to your message using the buttons we described before. You can also wait for them to contact you and then message them back. Another great strategy is to respond to a message that someone leaves on your wall, but privately. All these things work, and we'll discuss them in future videos. For now, though, just know that there are plenty of good ways you can reach out to your clients and customers to begin this kind of conversational commerce, meaning you can take advantage of all those huge benefits we've touched on so far. Or you could start selling directly. Messaging apps for sales. So social messaging for marketing is all about creating deeper relationships with your existing customers and clients. This lets you transform those leads into qualified leads. But how do you turn qualified leads into buyers? The great news is that this is the perfect fit for social messaging apps as well. How to sell through social messaging apps. As we have somewhat touched upon already, social messaging apps are ideal for selling because they allow you to answer the questions of the client and to convince them to think about making a purchase. When we discussed the different platforms for social messaging, we saw some of the ways that we could strike up conversations with people using those platforms. For instance, you could message someone about a post they left on your Facebook wall. The key is to not try and sell from this position right away. If you send the message, "I see you posted on our wall, can I interest you in X product?" then you may well get blocked. However, if you send a message that asks a question and begins a conversation, then you can use this to then direct that conversation toward a sale. Ask them why they feel that way. Ask them what brought them to your site, and look for an opportunity to bring the conversation to products and services that you can provide. You can then begin with a gentle nudge, such as, "Have you considered X product?" or "Did you know we sold Y?" Another tip is to keep these messages short. Longer messages are off-putting for customers on these platforms, and especially if they aren't expecting them. 2 to 3 sentences should be considered your maximum. Upselling. Another great option for using social messaging is to upsell. That means that when someone buys something from your site, you then follow up immediately with the offer to sell something else. This can be done via a chat window, so that when someone buys your ebook, you then mention that they have qualified for a discount on your supplement range as well if they would be interested. This direct conversation, even if it is handled by a bot, makes it extremely easy for someone to buy from you. Instant engagement. It's common knowledge that when someone lands on your website, you will normally have about 10 seconds to convince them to stay. If they can't see what they're looking for immediately, then chances are that they will leave. How do you prevent this? One option is to have a chat window appear immediately and ask if it can help the visitor. This gives them an immediate answer to any questions they might have and prevents them from leaving out of confusion, one of the most paralyzing emotions that can completely destroy your sales otherwise. Chatbots. Imagine this scenario for a moment. It shouldn't be too far-fetched, seeing as it is the precise scenario a client of mine found themselves in. This client had a successful fitness blog and YouTube channel. They'd done a fantastic job of building their audience and also increasing engagement to the point that people really wanted to connect and interact with them. As such, their Facebook page grew pretty much all on its own. This led to them getting lots of messages on Facebook from people who wanted to compliment them on their work, ask questions, and even ask if they were available for personal training. But this person had multiple business interests. They were also running several other online businesses, and they spent a lot of time coaching clients, writing training programs, and running the blog and YouTube. Those questions went unanswered. This had 2 big impacts. It hurt the content creator's reputation by making them appear to not care about their audience. They would quickly gain a reputation among their followers as someone that didn't answer fans, and that therefore was not worth messaging. Engagement was dropping. It meant that they would miss out on a huge number of potential clients, which could have been enough to allow them to drastically increase their rates. After all, these clients were so keen on the idea of getting training from them that they sought them out through Facebook and messaged them personally. This is an extremely qualified lead and someone who would likely be happy to pay a lot for a good service. The solution that I provided was to get a chatbot. The chatbot would then man the messenger and be able to answer simple questions. What's more is that it could politely explain to users that the person was inundated with messages and, unfortunately, had a hard time answering everyone directly. However, if they wanted a consultation, they could do so by signing up at X address. This created a simple sales funnel using entirely existent materials that quickly helped the client of mine to develop a massively successful business model. They gained a lot of new leads, which allowed them to drastically increase the amount they charged for training sessions. In turn, they were able to spend less time writing programs and more time working on the content of the site, which in turn helped them to increase their exposure even more. Today, that client is an Instagram influencer that gets paid thousands of dollars to wear sports gear during workouts. It worked out okay for them. Selling directly. Here's something else you may not have realized you could do with a social messaging campaign. Process orders entirely through your app. Several companies are now doing this, even using chatbots to completely automate the process. In particular, this option is popular among restaurants and fast food joints. Taxi firms are also embracing the concept. Here, the customer will usually already have an account with the business that has their delivery address and payment details stored. They will then send a message through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, or a bespoke app, see the next video, stating that they would like to order food. This will then begin a scripted sequence where the bot will ask which items, what sizes, toppings, extras, when they'd like it, and how they'd like to pay. They will then ask the user to confirm, and within a minute, the transaction will be over. This is a very natural, easy, and fast way for people to buy from you, and that makes them instantly more inclined to take that strategy. It is also a very modern approach that can help you to improve your reputation, and companies such as ClickSend make this very quick and simple to set up. Building an app. If you want to start increasing your brand visibility, gaining more sales, and generally taking your business to the next level, then you absolutely need an app. There was one point about 20 years ago when every business started recognizing how badly they needed a website. There was a sudden rush that followed as every business quickly started building websites and hiring designers. Today, there's absolutely no question that every business needs a website, and that without one, they can't expect to reach nearly as many people or secure half as many sales. Everyone has been a little slower on the uptake this time around, but now we find ourselves in the exact same position with apps. In other words, if you run a business, then you need an app just as badly as you need a website. And as with websites, that need is only going to grow and grow as technology progresses. At this point, you might be wondering what use an app might have for you. Well, try asking a company like Starbucks or Amazon, and they'll tell you how they make far more sales directly as a result of their app. Or maybe you could turn to blogs like IGN, and they'd tell you how their apps help them to connect with their audience and promote their posts. But of course, an app can also be another option for promoting your business through social messaging. That's because a lot of companies create apps that have messaging functionality built into them, which actually has a huge number of benefits even over the regular features. What an app can do for you. So, a good place to start, then, is by asking what an app can do for you. For starters, an app can, of course, improve your visibility and help impress your visitors. Having an app makes your company seem more modern and more capable, and it means that people can now discover you via the Google Play Store and/or the iTunes Store. On top of this, though, having an app also gives you a new way to communicate directly with your customers. This thanks to something called the push notification. Push notifications essentially allow your apps to post updates that appear right at the top of the phone and on the lock screen, and your app doesn't even have to be open to do this. That means you can tell your fans about your special offers or your latest blog post, and they won't even have to be using the phone to see it. Unlike email marketing, you don't have to compete with thousands of other marketers, and you don't need to worry about the spam filter. For these reasons, in fact, push notifications have an open rate of 92%. No email campaign will ever come close to that. Of course, when you use other social messaging apps, those apps will also include a push notification when a new message is received. However, you'll find that this isn't as impactful, seeing as those notifications are competing with notifications from other users. This is compared with a notification that you control in its entirety on a channel that you own. Then you have things like GPS. You can actually use this to direct your users directly to your store if you have a brick and mortar business. Or you can use it to send context-sensitive push notifications. In other words, when someone is outside your restaurant, you can offer them to come in for a drink. You can also use this information during a discussion, though be careful not to be creepy in this way. Apps also let you make direct sales in a very convenient manner. Using in-app purchases or PayPal, you can let your users look through your products and place orders at their leisure. Likewise, they can order food or book a table, and they won't even have to leave the app. Starbucks uses this in a very smart way by letting users say what time they want their coffee and then pay through the app. That way, instead of having to queue on their commute to work, they can just pop in to collect their coffee with their name on it. Imagine being able to promote something via a push notification, then letting that notification take your user directly to your beautifully designed app where they can buy your product with one click and without having to enter any of their details, or letting them click to start up a conversation with you. This works for physical products, but it also works like a charm for digital products and is the perfect way for you to monetize your website and sell more ebooks. Even if it weren't for all those powerful benefits, an app simply provides a more tailor-made experience for your users to read content on their phones. They won't be distracted by other websites, and everything will load much more quickly. And here's another thing you may not have considered, that you can actually use an app you built in order to send someone Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp and to begin a conversation with you. This is a great way to integrate social messaging with an app you created for marketing. Now, what you're probably thinking is that this is all great, but beyond your capabilities. How can you build an app on your own with no experience? Actually, that bit is easy, and I'm going to show you why. Using app builders to create professional apps in 3 minutes or less. What if I told you that you could create a professional-looking mobile app in under 3 minutes? The good news? It's completely true. The trick is simply to use an app builder, which is a piece of software written specifically to make it easier for you to build apps in just a few minutes and then package them ready for iOS and Android. You can, of course, go the traditional route to create your mobile app, which will mean coding it yourself in Java, Objective-C, or Swift. This means learning a whole language for most people, though, as well as familiarizing themselves with the Android or iOS SDK. Then they have to set up their IDE. Will you use Android Studio or Eclipse? And install the latest virtual devices for testing. You'll need to learn how a manifest file works and how to set up your private key sign. And that's all assuming your computer is able to run all that stuff. It needs a lot of space if nothing else, and you can only develop for iOS this way on a Mac. So, probably not, right? Using an app builder isn't as flexible or powerful, but the good news is that many of them are designed specifically for internet marketing purposes. That means that the functionality they do provide is exactly what you're likely to need to promote your website, digital products, or business. Here are just some of the best tools that will get you started. Apatap. To use Apatap, you begin by selecting the app template you want. As you can imagine, this is essentially the layout you want and will define the broad purpose of your app as well as where all the individual elements are going to go. Next, you change the images you want and the text you want, and you select the features you're going to need. The features available include shopping cart, maps and GPS, in-app purchases, PayPal, push notifications, chat, image galleries, RSS feeds. You pick and choose these as you need them. So if you want to create an app to promote your blog, you'll probably just go with the RSS feed to show your content and then use a push notification to alert your users about new content. On the other hand, if you want to let people order your products, you'll want to use the shopping cart, the in-app purchases, and the PayPal support. Once all that is done, you simply press publish and your app will be packaged ready for the Play Store or iTunes. App Institute. This is another powerful app maker for iOS and Android that lets you get started quickly and provides a number of enterprise-centric features. That includes a very powerful booking feature, a loyalty feature, push notifications, and the ability to chat with a member of your team. All the stuff we need, in other words. It's not free, though you can build a trial app for free, but it is relatively inexpensive at $42 per month. AppyPie. AppyPie is a similar app builder that focuses primarily on simplicity. It's great for making specific types of apps, but you can use this to create a general business app if you so wish. Shoutem. We could keep going forever, so we'll just put one more item on this list. Shoutem. This is a very crisp and nicely made platform that you can use to make similarly attractive and modern apps for your business. It lets you stay in touch with your users using all the same features as others on the list, but also has powerful Shopify integration for selling from an e-commerce store directly. The other huge difference between creating an app for marketing purposes and using a more traditional form of social messaging marketing is that creating an app comes with an implicit permission to contact your potential buyers. In other words, if you message someone on WhatsApp without their explicit permission, then you might risk getting told off and upsetting the customer. However, if you message someone directly through your app, this is something that the user is likely expecting. By downloading the app, they demonstrate that they are happy to receive more communication from you, which entirely changes the relationship while allowing you to benefit from all the same features. We've only touched briefly on what apps can do for you, though, and how you can start making the most of them. Right now, only the very biggest and smartest companies are taking full advantage of mobile marketing with their own apps and mobile sites. If you want to get ahead of the competition, then this is a great way to do it, and it will lead to an instant increase in sales and engagement.